Hello my friends, it's Ranger Russ from the Meigs Nature Center. I am out on a pond today. I'm on Messerschmidt Pond in Westbrook. And I started early, not because there's a leaf blower behind me, but I'm going to flip the camera and hopefully you can see him. There is a painted turtle on the log. So we are in November and we still have our turtles climbing out. Now this is not terribly unusual. Turtles can be found in Connecticut walking across frozen ponds. They've been spotted swimming under the ice of a frozen over pond. I got out here a little early to set up, and as soon as I turned around, he climbed right out. I'm saying he by the size, it could be a small female, but he climbed right out just after I went by. Look at the bright colors there. Much brighter than our captive turtles that we have at the Nature Center that have been raised in captivity, getting natural light and all the right foods. The wind is blowing me right towards him. I'm actually back paddling and still getting closer to him, but he seems to be okay with it. Let's turn the camera a little bit so you're not looking right at the bow of the boat the whole time. And a big fish just swirled behind me, so there's some leaves floating here. It makes great cover for the fish to hang out. So I really wasn't expecting to see any wildlife today on this program, but happy to see some movement so far. All right, so let's get to the beginning. These programs are going to continue Tuesday through Friday at 11. Now, I missed a couple of days there, had a pretty bad migraine, so got through that mostly unscathed. And I hope everybody got out and voted. I was going to talk about voting on my Tuesday program, but I really encourage people to vote. So I'm glad to see we had as much turnout as we did. It doesn't matter who you're voting for, I just think you should vote. And let's see, we're going to look at this log. So I am again on Messerschmidt Pond. It is a state boat launch, part of Connecticut. I believe that's the unit that takes care of it. Look at this tree that's down. Can you see the hole there? There's a plant growing right up through that hole. All right, now I'm going to encourage everyone to continue. I see a lot of people are already putting where they're messaging from, so I love to see that. If you have any questions or comments, you can put those up at any time. So I'm seeing Michigan, Mystic, Cromwell, Westerly, and there's a few that have gone by already that I haven't mentioned. So again, we've got a painted turtle, brightly colored, most common turtle. I don't know if you guys can see in the picture, but it is raised, its belly is not touching the log. I can see the water reflecting right under it. So he's still got himself standing up, more of an alert posture. I would expect if he's going to spend some time there, he'll settle down and just let that warm sunlight warm up his body. And that's what they're doing. They're doing temperature control when you see them out on the logs. It also, though, the sunlight kills algae that will grow on their shell and causes shell rot, which is very unhealthy for a turtle, and it assists in digestion. So it helps them metabolize the nutrients from the food that they're eating and makes, again, a healthier turtle. So 3 reasons why you'll see turtles out on logs. And again, initially people thought that a turtle would hibernate for the entire winter and you would not see them out, but in recent years we've seen more of them being active in the winter, and like I said, they've been seen on frozen ponds, walking across the ice, or swimming under the ice in a frozen pond. Now that may be a turtle that didn't survive. We don't know that for sure. but sighting them out in the winter is a sign that they can at least be active in the winter. And in a pond like this, so we're only in a little outlet within the pond. We'll go to the pond itself in a little while. But a pond like this, that you would expect to see them bury themselves down in the mud, and that's where they're going to spend the winter, is buried up in the mud. Now, I don't really want to scare that turtle into the water, so we're going to give it a wide berth. And we will move out into the pond. Take a look here, though. Right in front of me now, there's a grove of pine trees, evergreens. Those look like all Norway spruces, which are not a native tree in Connecticut, but that is a great place. That's where I would expect to see in a couple of months now, in February, it's maybe a great horned owl nesting there. They really like the cover that those evergreens provide, nice tall evergreens. So that little grove in February, I think if we walk around on the ground there, we might find some owl pellets. Even now, we could find owl pellets. All right, so I'm gonna change this angle so you guys can look out into the pond a little bit more. So again, Messerschmidt is part of Connecticut State Forest. And I would say it's more of a lake than a pond. This is a large one, and I think we determined in some of our past episodes that you can tell a pond from a lake by its acreage. Now, I couldn't find the acres on this pond, but I'm going to say it's more than 30 acres. So I'm going to say this is a lake. All right, we're gonna circle around and then head back towards the boat launch. So you'll get to see the boat launch at the end of this little tour. Now we do still have some lily pads on my right here. Let's spin so you guys can see them. You can see in the water there are lily pads. We've got 3 major types of lily pads in Connecticut. You can tell by the leaves. Some of them are oval, some of them are round with a nice pie shape out of them, and then others are much larger and round. So we get, when they're flowering, we get pink flowers. Most of them are white. We get yellow flowers as well, but pink, yellow, and white are the flowers, and I believe the pink ones are the same variety as the white ones. So it doesn't mean it's a different species just because it's a different color. I'm also seeing a bit of milfoil out here. Milfoil is an invasive. It will grow in and completely fill in a pond. It's not very nice to have a lot of milfoil in a pond. Again, with like many natives, many invasives, native animals can't use it nutritionally as much as they can use the natives. Let's take a look. I'll show you guys. There's the pine grove we were talking about. I don't know if you can see up in there. I realized I'm still zoomed in from the turtle. So there we go. Take a look at that. There's our pine trees. Sorry, spruce trees. Although it looks like there's a balsam in there as well, so it's not all Norway spruce. That's good. Good to see. There's another pine grove over there. So this is great habitat for those great horned owls. And great horned owls do not build their own nests. They're going to be using another bird's nest. So if we found a hawk nest up in these trees, that would be a great place to come back and look for great horned owls. They're going to start pairing up in February. Lake in New Jersey is so green they call it Green Lock Lake. Too much algae. Wonder how to control that. Naturally, Beaver's Lodge is there. So water flow will change the algae levels, the amount of water movement. But one of the things that's happening at this time of the year, and in the spring and the fall, you're going to find that ponds and lakes are much more cloudy, much more turbid. Turbidity is how we measure the clarity of water. And I should have brought, I'm going to do another lake program, and I'll bring a Secchi disc, and you can use that to see how clear water is by how deep it goes before you lose sight of it. So what's happening at this time of year, it's called turnover. When you get a change in temperature, and it's not going to really kick in yet until the temperature really drops for a consistent amount of time. If we get a sudden drop like we had I guess about a month ago when we had that really cold snap move through, that's not really good for the environment. But let me explain turnover. So turnover happens when the water temperature changes. So in the fall, this time of year, the surface temperature is becoming colder. Now there are layers of water in the pond, and they're separated out by temperature. That's called stratification, as the water separates and becomes layered. So typically in the winter, the top layer is colder and the bottom layer is going to be warmer. In the summer, it's reversed. The top is warmer and the bottom is colder. The bottom isn't changing very much. It's really the surface temperature that changes. So right now, the surface temperature is getting colder. The breeze, the wind really blows across and cools the water down very quickly. And the warm water and the cold water will start to switch. And that causes turbidity. It causes the lake to stir up. In the spring, the reverse happens. The warmer water that was on the bottom, the surface water, is getting warmer, and those layers invert, and the water will get turbid again. That's actually good for a pond. It causes aeration. So when you mix up the water, it aerates the entire pond, which is what the fish and plants, they like that. They like an inversion. When it happens too quickly, though, you will get fish kills. And those fish kills you can get if it's really sudden. The fish are not able to adjust. They can adjust to temperature change, but it takes them a bit of time. If that happens very quickly, then the cold water mixes all through the pond and will freeze the fish too quickly, and they won't be able to survive and they'll die off. So right now, you would expect that the water that was, the surface water that was very warm, is getting colder. So that means the layer on the bottom right now is warmer than the layer on the top. So it will separate out or mix together and shift around until the temperature gets consistent, and the surface water will be very cold and that bottom layer will be a bit warmer. And it won't be able to invert back until the springtime. Hope that makes sense to everybody. Let's see, we've got questions here. Hello, Middletown. And someone's saying it's beautiful. It is absolutely gorgeous out here today. Temperature, I think they said it's going to be around 60 today. In the sun, I would say, that was tricky. There was a rock there. If you remember my other program, you can see the rocks when there's a change in the surface water, which right there in front of me, you can see there's a rock sticking out. But with the chop on the water, that rock was not showing me a ripple, so I ran up on that one. So again, temperature in the shade, I'm gonna say it's probably 61, maybe 62. In the sun, it feels a bit warmer. It is nice out here, though. Kind of thinking, since I'm spending so much time in the shade, I should have wore my my water pants out here. But we'll be all right. Most of the leaves are down. There's still a bit of color around. This season, I don't think was great for color. I think that the storm Isaias really ruined our chance for a good color this fall. Oaks are still holding on to their leaves. Some of the oaks will hold on to them pretty late into the year, which is annoying to anybody that's out there cleaning up your leaves, which is a good time. I will be doing, coming up, a program on cleaning up your leaves. I am all for you clearing the leaves around your home. There's nothing worse than wet leaves piled up against your house. It's really not good for your home. And if you have a nice lawn and you want to keep your lawn have a green in the spring, then you don't want a big thick layer of leaves. Oh, look at this. This is so cool. There is a giant boulder. I am actually over the boulder, the entire thing. Yeah, this has got to be the size, it's bigger than a van. This is a big boulder. It's really neat, and it is one. They're connected. It almost looks like a seam, but it's a solid, massive boulder. So back to cleaning up your leaves. You know, clear off the areas where you really want your nice green grass, so maybe your front yard, but other places, you know, mulch them up, chop them up, leave them there. If they're not too thick, your grass will still grow in the springtime. I like to clear the leaves around the house. Again, I create a perimeter around my home where I don't want wet, rotting things or maybe insects that may start eating the house. But when you get out away from the house, leave your leaves. If at all possible, let nature do its thing. You will get a better environment for it. Let's see. Mid-60s in southern Michigan, so about the same temperature there. We might be a tad cooler, but not much. Actually, in the sun here, I'm thinking I'm in the mid-60s. It is beautiful out here. So you can look, there's another inlet. A lot of lily pads through that one. In the summer, the lily pads are much thicker. It would be difficult to paddle through there on a summer day. Spring's better, but as you get into the get into the summer, the lily pads grow pretty quickly. So we're going to continue along here. Here's that other grove of evergreens, and so here I see some white pine. The one on the left there is a white pine, and all the ones on the right are white pines. Looks like some Norway spruces in the middle, and looks like a red pine on the right there. Well, that's cool. Years ago we had a blight on our red pines in Connecticut, so you don't see a lot of them left around. Alright, let's keep going. Now there is a little spot, a little swimming area here on the right. I don't know if it's an official swimming area. I think you can park on the road down there, and there's a trail that comes up to this. I've only hiked up that trail once. I usually kayak out and see the swimming area. But this is where most people, if they're going swimming, this is where they go swimming. I didn't get out here a lot this summer, but I'm seeing there's lily pads pretty close to the swimming area here. Lily pads totally and they will totally take over. Some ponds will be engulfed by lily pads. which is not necessarily a good thing. When you have all those lily pads, you're creating a layer which prevents the natural I can't say the word. Oxidation. That's not right. When the water becomes oxygenated, the oxygenation, there we go, of the water. Lily pads will, if you get too many of them, you get that, no exposed surface. This is a beautiful spot. How about that view? So we're going to head, there's an island here. We're going to circle around the island. So island is pretty straight in front of me right now. So I'm going to go to the right and circle around. There's a bird hovering, some kind of vulture. Can't tell yet what type. I think it's a turkey vulture. Very cool. Light feathers along the underside of the wing, and the wing is narrower than a black vulture. Turkey vultures, they're using the sense of smell to find their food. One of the only birds in Connecticut that has a legitimate sense of smell. Most birds have practically no sense of smell whatsoever. Now I've noticed somebody looks like they made a cairn out here in the middle of the pond. We're going to go over and take a glimpse at it. See what that... Now, I'm not completely against cairns. I really don't like it though when people change the environment. If you gather up all of the rocks in an area to pile them in a pile, you've changed the environment. So if there's lots of rocks around and you just make a little pile of stone or a stack, I like the stacks better. That's pretty cool. But this one, I'm not sure where they would have gotten these stones. We're going to see when we get over there if the bottom has stones or if it's shallow enough that they could have collected them from the bottom. A lot of times in small ponds and lakes, I keep calling this a pond. This is really a lake. But I think it's called Messerschmidt Pond. So. But the bottom of this lake, especially now in the fall with all the leaves going down, there's going to be a thick layer of leaves. Doesn't that log look kind of like an alligator or something? How cool is that? The knobs on it almost look like eyes. So we're in a few feet of water, and yeah, there's a lot of rocks around here. So that is a big pile though. Somebody spent a lot of time building a pile of rocks. And they left a snorkel. I'm going to take that and throw that away. Don't really like to see trash out here. Alright, don't want you guys to have to watch the trash the whole trip either. So, yeah, we're in 3 to 4 feet of water right here, so it's shallow enough they could have collected all the rocks and piled them up. Let's head over here. Oh, there we go. What do we have here? These lily pads look a bit different, so let's go take a look. Oh, the wind's at my back. It can go really fast right now. Oh, they're just curling up here. Yep. Lily pads are just curling up, like they're drying out. The wind is blowing them up. Any questions? Don't forget, again, if you have any questions, comments, anytime you want to put them up. Also, though, please put up where you're messaging from. I'm going to ask everyone to subscribe to the YouTube channel. Now, I do the tours at a place called Hope, and on Monday I met a couple of people that have been watching the videos, and they had a comment that they weren't sure if they were actual. Oh, there was a big fish right there. I wish the camera was pointing that way. There's there's a fisherman in front of us too. But they weren't sure if they were subscribing to the YouTube channel. So if you search Meigs Point Nature Center under channels, don't just search for Meigs Point Nature Center videos. Once you find the channel, then you can, you'll see a red button below the video or on the channel page that you can, it says subscribe, and you can subscribe that way. So I've noticed, I think some people are subscribing to YouTube, not to the Meigs Point Nature Center YouTube channel. So let's see if we can see how many subscribers we get today. We'll see if that was one of the problems that people have been having. I'm really not the person to teach people about this because I'm technologically not very savvy. I want things to be very simple, very logical, and sometimes they're not logical. Alright, so this is the island right in front of us. I have hiked that island. There's sort of a little circle of a trail, and it looks like some people have camped on the island. And I think I talked to a scout group, and they went out and camped on it one night. I don't know if that's legal or not. I'm going to guess that it's against the rules. But again, state forests are different regulations than state parks. I've said that in the past. And because I work in a state park, I've been in state parks my whole career, I don't know all of the forest rules. I do know that forests allow horses and ATVs and mountain bikes and things like that, where parks, it's very limited. You can have them, but only in specific areas, and some parks don't allow them at all. So please, even whatever state you're in, please check the rules and regulations of your park system before you recreate in those parks. I'm all for recreation. I'm all for all types of recreation, but we do need to follow the rules. And those rules are there for a reason. I don't just follow rules because they're the rule. There are good reasons behind these rules. And for our forests, you know, they are larger generally and have, you know, bigger, more open trails, so horses and quads and, you know, ATVs are not going to destroy them. A state park, if you took horses on some of the trails at Hammonasset, you would destroy. A horse would, you know, dig up the trails. We've got these nice stone dusts that are for wheelchairs, but not good for horses or ATVs or mountain bikes for that matter. Some people really can be abusive with a mountain bike. So again, please just follow the rules. No ATVs in Shinipsit Forest. So there again, each forest has its own rules. And I think that's because Shinipsit, because of the size of Shinipsit and the trails. I don't think Shinipsit has the massive amount of fire roads that like Patchogue or Concoponset have. There are little fire roads that completely crisscross some state forests. But I haven't been to Shinipsit in years. I will be visiting Shinipsit. It's been a long time since I've been up there though. So alright. I'm seeing, again, mostly oaks are still holding on to their leaves. And the color, again, there's not really a lot of color right now. Oranges, I don't know, I still think it's beautiful. A lot of browns, but even the brown, it's a beautiful brown. Look at those, let's spin there. Look at those oak trees right there. Those are beautiful oak trees. A beautiful brown there. Now I want to let everybody know, even though the Meigs Point Nature Center is currently closed, we are still working on it. So we need to give a big shout out to the Friends of Hammonasset. They've put in another, I forget what the last contract was, for designs and exhibits. It's over $100,000. So grateful to them for continuing to support the Nature Center. When we're able to open, you're going to see some fantastic things. And if you missed the video last week, I did a walking tour of the Nature Center and showed some of the new exhibits and new things that have been added to the Nature Center. I didn't show it all though. I want there to be some surprises when you come and visit. But yeah, the Friends of Hammonasset have been really wonderful. They continue to support us in feeding the animals, and always grateful for that. So in this area over here, there's a little river that flows in. At this time of year, I would say the water is probably running pretty well. We've had some good rain the past last week anyway. So hopefully we're moving out of a drought. Susan. Have a horse camp that's off the forest property. That's very cool. So Susan wants to know when I'm going to Shinipsit. I have a schedule of upcoming programs, but many of them are weather dependent. At least the traveling ones where I'm going to parks are weather dependent. So I usually end up postponing a program, and then that means others get all bumped out of whack. From the beginning, I realized that there wasn't going to be a solid schedule. Things were changing. When we get different animals, it changes. We have a new animal that I will be doing a program on coming up. We got some shore shrimp, and I don't think I've done a shore shrimp program. Maybe I have. It's been so long. I've done so many programs. Very hard to keep track of all the programs that we've been doing. We also got a catfish, and I know I did a catfish program, but got a generous donation of a catfish that's been hand raised. So hopefully it enjoys our aquarium system. One thing I'm noticing, there is not a lot of birds moving around here. Every now and then I'll hear a robin or a blue jay. But other than that, we saw that turkey vulture, and there were a couple of crows that flew by. But I'm wondering if all the little warblers and sparrows have moved on and done their migration through here. Now, robins used to migrate out of Connecticut. Now, a good chunk of them will stay. Some of them will migrate out, but a good chunk of them will spend the winter here. So you can't really count on the robin as the first sign of spring anymore. I think at Hammonasset we count the first sign of spring are the red-winged blackbirds. Beautiful bird. Beautiful color on those wings. I don't think that I have ever been horseback riding at Shinipsit. I haven't done most of my horseback riding was when I worked at a summer camp. I rode quite a bit at summer camp, a couple of times a day at least. This is really, really neat spot here. I'm seeing some witch hazel. You can see the witch hazel bending over the bank there. Witch hazel is a big product of this area. Oh, look at that Winterberry. Can you guys see the bright red berries there? That's Winterberry. Now that is a fantastic plant to have for our native birds that winter here. Apparently it's not the most tasty berry because they don't eat it until all the other food is gone. So typically February I start to see them just picking the Winterberry clean. Look at this beautiful brook flowing down there under the witch hazel. This is a photo op. I need to come back here and take a picture for our website because this is really cool. Unfortunately, I can't take pictures from Facebook Live. That would be a neat one right there. Yep, the brook is flowing pretty well there. Now, this is interesting. There is something hanging in the tree. It looks like it's intentionally placed here. Thought it was a bobber at first. Huh. Wonder what this is all about. That looks like a scavenger hunt. I have accidentally stumbled upon someone's scavenger hunt. So, now the water is still very clear, so that turnover that I was talking about I don't think is really happening yet. We haven't had consistent cold enough temperatures to really change the temperature, although if you put your hand in the water, it's pretty cold. Maybe we've already had our inversion and it's now separated out. Actually, we did have a cold snap a little bit ago that could have completed our inversion. Somebody says, I have a great horse you can ride. I love to ride. Let's see what else we can see here. So I didn't talk about this on the way in, but on the sides here, these are not lily pads. We've got some pickerel weed that's grown there. The flowers are no longer here, but those are purple flowers. It looks like, is that a sedge in the back there? Can't tell. I'm not going to go deep into this, but some neat grasses. Looks like all pickerel grass here. Right, up here is pickerel again. We get arrow leaf too, which is similar. The plant is similar to pickerel grass, pickerel weed. Now we're going into the wind. This takes a little more paddling. What is an inversion? I switched inversion with turnover. Turnover is when the temperature changes and the cold water, the colder water that's deep in the summertime comes up to the top because now it's the warmer water, and in the fall, and then in the spring the water on the bottom is warmer, so when the surface water warms up, the warmer water sinks down to the bottom and drives the colder water up to the top. So it's called pond or lake turnover. And I didn't switch it with inversion in college. I don't remember when. Somebody used the term inversion and it's sort of stuck in my head now. But it's called pond turnover. Hopefully you guys can still hear me all right. We're paddling into a heavy wind now. Heading back, so that's the island on the left. We're doing a complete circuit of the island. Mainland's on the right. Again, this is Messerschmidt Pond. Great place to kayak, and if you kayak in the winter, make sure you wear your life vests. So from October 1st on until April, it is the law in Connecticut that if you're out on the water, you have to be wearing a life vest. And there's a good reason for that. The water is so cold, if you went in it, it wouldn't be very long before you weren't able to move. So, wear your life vests. Carry your whistle. I'm going into the sun, so I'm having a hard time seeing. Looks like Ralph says we are right up the road. So you're right near Messerschmidt. Very cool. Yeah, this is a place, I don't know when I first started kayaking here. Probably about 15 years ago. First time out here, I was blown away. It's just such a cool little pond. But you know what? We've got ponds like this all over Connecticut. There's a couple of other ones that I'd really like to head over to sometime. I was lucky though today to get this warm enough temperatures to be out on the water. Here's a little tip for regular kayakers. Well, regular kayakers probably know. For beginner kayakers, when you get a big wind like this, point your bow straight into the wind for as much of your paddle as you can. It'll keep it from blowing you side to side, easier to keep on course. If it is coming off of your port or your starboard, you just have to paddle stronger on the opposite side to maintain a straight line, but it's a lot easier if you're going straight into the winds. Let's pick up our speed a little bit here. We're heading back towards the boat launch, which is another grove of evergreens, another great place for great horned owls. And again, I'm a little disappointed there's not a lot of birds moving around here. Now the osprey have migrated out. Might see a straggler here or there, which is going to be a juvenile because they're not so bright sometimes. They do call the juvenile years of a raptor's life, I've heard it referred to as the stupid phase. They need to learn their lessons. So that's the boat launch straight ahead of me. I've got you guys off my port a little bit, so change my angle. I don't know if you can see the Nature Center van is right up there. Looks like our fisherman is pulled in. He's on shore there. Dan says, looks like a nice day for a kayak. It's a gorgeous day for a kayak. And actually, now that I've picked up my pace, I'm quite a bit warmer. Also, the sun is beating down, actually getting hot. So I'm looking at these logs on the side, hoping to see another turtle, but I'm not seeing any. I think that was a pretty brave turtle we saw at the beginning, to be out there. The water temperature is cold for turtles. I'm going to say they're probably not liking this very much. At the Nature Center, one of the things that happens in the winter, sometimes our turtles don't eat, and the first thing we need to do is check the heaters, make sure their tanks are warm enough, because if it gets too cold, they just stop eating. Now they can go long periods without eating. Obviously they can go all winter pretty much without eating, hibernating, you know, bury themselves in the mud on the bottom. But that's when their metabolism is slowed down, their breathing is practically non-existent. I think they breathe like once every 4 minutes or something like that, or their heart beats once every 4 minutes. Maybe that's what it was. So I'm going to encourage everyone to take advantage of this weather. It's going to be warm for a couple of days now. Get out and visit one of Connecticut's recreation areas, parks, forests, wildlife management areas. If you want more information, the Connecticut DEEP has a great website. It's full of information. When you're on there, you search for a particular park, and there's usually a map of the park, a little bit of park history, directions to get there, and then you can go out and enjoy these parks. But again, please follow the rules. Now if you look, let's spin here, there's another really nice grove of evergreens. Those look like Norway spruce again, and then another set closer to the road there. So these clumps of evergreens, and that's a great way for these evergreens to grow in these clumps. A single evergreen, not so great for cover, but all winter long, these evergreens are going to block the wind, going to block some snow and rain. They're going to provide cover, camouflage. It'd be really hard to see an owl if it were hanging out up there in that, in those trees. Here's the road. Just see the cars going by over that little causeway. There is another part of the pond on the other side there. I don't believe that you can kayak under through that opening. Well, look at the wind blowing all the lily pads up. It's almost like something's moving across the pond. Oh, a fish. Big, whoa, yeah. There was a big fish. I don't know if you saw like an arrow cutting across through the water. Now we'll try and post, if I can find it. I just did a quick look this morning before I launched. See how many acres this lake is. But we'll try and put it up on the website. So if you visit meigspointnaturecenter.org, you can see all the past videos, and you'll be able to get additional information. Sometimes we have fun facts or vocabulary words or puzzles, crossword puzzles, word searches. Everybody likes those. You can use them in your classrooms. If you just like doing a crossword puzzle, you can just, or a word search. Yeah, right now the water level is right at the bottom of that, or the top of the bridge there, so you wouldn't be able to get a toy boat through there. So again, this time of year, the leaves are falling in, the pond, the bottom of the pond is filling up with leaves. Throughout the year, these leaves will break down, just like they do in the forest. Different speeds though. Typically things break down faster in the water, but not always. But one of the things that happens is you'll get a sediment buildup, and you can see right here in front of me, got a mat of, looks like leaves that have built up. Oh man, the fish are going crazy out here right now. There's just a big fish that hit the surface on the other side of this little island. But once you get that mat of leaves and soil, the plants can start to grow. Sometimes these are floating mats. This one looks like a floating mat, and I'll be able to tell you in a second, because if you push down on it, no, that's solid. It goes, oh, no it's not. loose leaves underneath of it, so it's sort of anchored where it is, but that would be probably pretty impossible to walk on. You'd probably just sink right through it. Oh yeah, that's a floating mat. That's really neat. I did visit, when I went to Peru, there are these floating islands out on Lake Titicaca, which is the highest navigable lake in the world. It means it's large enough to have boats go out on it. They've got these giant mats, and people live on them. They will actually live their whole lives out on these mats of islands, floating islands of reeds and rushes, and they build their houses out of it, and that's where they live. It was really cool, but the mats are thick. They're like 15 feet thick. I was waiting for the fisherman to get his boat out of the way, trying to still maintain our social distance, but he's still going over there. So we're going to go look on the other side of the boat launch. And I'm trying to cross. I've run into a tangle of roots right there. Not seeing any questions. Again, I'm going to ask everyone to please subscribe to our YouTube channel. Visit Meigs Point Nature Center's YouTube channel and hit the subscribe button. And continue to follow us and like us on Facebook. Tell your friends about it. The more followers we get, the more people we reach, the more we're doing our job. Also, upcoming programs, you should expect to see my seasonals doing some programs. Now, I've asked them to pick a program. G&M, if you're watching, time for you to get ready to do your programs. So they're trying to pick programs, something that they know a lot about, and they'll be doing a live program coming up here at some point in the near future. Unfortunately, right now we don't have a lot of opportunities for people to volunteer, or even staffing possibilities. But I'm hoping as soon as we open it up, I'll be able to get more volunteers in. I know a lot of people are interested in volunteering at the Nature Center. It's a great opportunity to learn, and it's a lot of fun. Ruby, I am on Messerschmidt Pond in Westbrook. Pretty sure it's Westbrook. Far enough south on 154. I think this is Westbrook. Oh, I'm hearing some birds ahead of me now. One of the things yesterday, I was outside for a bit, and I got to hear a blue jay doing the call of a red-shouldered hawk. Now, I've heard of them mimicking hawks. I've heard of them mimicking red-tailed hawks, never red-shoulder, but I don't see why they wouldn't be able to do either one. I heard the call, and it sounded like a red-shoulder, but there was something just slightly off. It was a little higher pitch, a little thinner note than a red-shouldered hawk, and it was really close to me, so I'm sitting there looking in the tree. I thought, if there's a red-shouldered hawk there, I should be able to see it. Then all of a sudden, a little blue jay hopped. So it was a blue jay, and I watched it do that red-shouldered hawk call a couple of times. Typically, it said that they do that call to scare off other birds, or if they feel like a predator might be coming on them. But it was doing the call. There didn't seem to be any other animals around, but that doesn't mean there weren't. Again, when people say, oh, there wasn't another animal, you really have a hard time telling sometimes. Animals are very good at hiding. So I believe that it was just doing that call just because it could do the call. I didn't see any other reason for it anyway. How'd the pond get its name? Good question. I didn't look up the history of this pond at all. Messerschmidt, I mean, they made airplanes in World War II in Germany, but it was a last name, so I would guess it's the last name of someone that settled in this area. But we could put that up as well for you on the website, on the in the virtual learning center. So there's two things I'm going to have to make sure that we put up. Now, luckily, I have lots of volunteers that collect the information and type it up for me, put it together. So you should be able to find. We'll put up how many acres and how it got its name, if we can find that information. Sometimes that information is harder than you think. So, alright, I'm not sure if our fisherman has moved his boat out of there yet. And actually, I'm not even sure that he was fishing. He may have just been paddling around in a rowboat, which is a great thing to do. Good exercise, fresh air on this beautiful day. I'm going to say right now we're in the mid-60s. Again, I'm in the sun and I was just paddling, so I'm a little warmer than I was in the shade. I really want to thank everybody for watching these programs. I enjoy these. I can't even describe how much fun it is to be able to bring this education to so many people. So I'm going to continue to do this. Even if the Nature Center opens, don't think that the programs are going to end if the Nature Center opens. We'll continue to do Facebook Live programs. We'll continue to create videos for our YouTube channel. I can't wait, actually. Once we're doing YouTube Live, I'll be able to do something like this live on YouTube, and then be able to edit those videos. One of the things that I haven't mentioned, at least I don't think I have, in all my park visits, usually at the parking lots there are informational signs. The DEP very good about trying to keep them up to date. So you can see those signs. They'll give you, like for this pond, there'll be the fishing regulations, there'll be the COVID regulations or suggestions, or I don't even know what you call them, rules for COVID that we're trying to follow. So take a look at the, usually there's a map with the trails, but you should always visit those informational kiosks for information about the parks, rules and regulations. And most of them open at sunrise and close at sunset. So that's a good rule of thumb. Sunrise to sunset, the parks are open. Trying to give you like a panoramic view here of the pond. That's the dam at the far end. That's where that little swimming area was. There's our little groves of pine trees over there, evergreens. I keep wanting to call them pine trees. More technically correct would be evergreens, not pines, because not all evergreens are pines. Reddington Rock Riding Club. That's cool. We're gonna have to look that one up. I think there's more than just me that are interested in horseback riding. All right, so again, I hope that you've enjoyed these programs. Please continue to tune in Tuesdays through Fridays at 11 o'clock on Facebook Live. Please subscribe to the YouTube channel. Just go to Meigs Point Nature Center on YouTube. Find our channel. Don't just watch a video. And if you can find our channel, you can subscribe to it. Once I get 1,000 subscribers, you'll start to see me doing these programs live on YouTube as well. That doesn't mean I'll do less programs on Facebook. It'll probably just be more programs. Also, if you are interested, Ralph, 72 acres, almost 73, thank you. I believe that he's putting up the acreage for Messerschmidt. So it is a lake. Anything I think over 35 is a lake. Below that, it's going to be a pond. So thank you for that, Ralph. All right. So again, I will continue to do these programs and look for my staff. The staff at the Meigs Point Nature Center. Right now, it's just Gia and Emily. They will be doing a program coming up here sometime soon. Beautiful weather today. Get out and enjoy it. Until tomorrow at 11, Facebook Live. This is Ranger Russ signing off from Messerschmidt Pond, actually a lake now, in Westbrook. Thank you again.